everyone. Happy Thursday. Hello, Miss Deborah Dennis. $100 Chemist. Hello, everyone. Welcome to My Turn to Talk. I am Solid Blue Sister, and today is Thursday, August the 12th. Welcome. I am fine. How are you today, 100-Yard Chemist? Good to see you. And Miss Deborah Dennis, so glad you were able to make it. So, this is part 2 of my show that I did a couple of months ago when I was on Zoom. You can see episode 11. It's been uploaded to YouTube, and it's also here on Podbean. That show got me in trouble. It got me in trouble, and it got me in trouble with someone who, to this day, yes, person is white, still thinks I owe her an apology, which, my opinion, I do not owe her an apology. So I'm having part 2 because another person was talking about interracial adoptions yesterday. Once again, my show always changes the day before. I'm doing something different. And she made a comment about African American children being used as experiments. And I had previously talked about on a different show how back at the turn of the century, not the 21st century, the 20th century, in the early 1900s, and probably before that, in Florida, you had people who would use, black babies as alligator bait. And this is true, not making it up. You can, check it out themselves and what have you. But what this person was talking about yesterday was a white couple, white lesbian couple, who took their adopted black children to be test subjects for the Moderna vaccine. And I read the article, and it was an interesting article, but I guess what triggered was the fact that the children were black, and they were taken to be, used as test subjects for the Moderna vaccine. Now, for the most part, I could care less if you're, red, green, black, blue, whatever. But I do think, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I do think there is a responsibility, as I said before, when you adopt a child outside of their race, even if you're not adopting them, even if you decide that you're going to take them in, or whatever, you're going to have, you're going to be with them for an extended period of time, you have an obligation and responsibility, my opinion, that you will raise this child where they are learning about their own culture, their own roots, where they come from. I think that's important. And what you see more and more is white people raising black children. Now, to be fair, you have the adoption rate is greater with whites than blacks. More white people are willing to adopt than blacks, no matter what the circumstances are. That's the fact. But parents have to realize that they have this black child living in their home. Their skin color is different. Their hair is different. And depending upon when you adopted them, whether they be a baby or a toddler, they're going to want to know where they come from. Now, I don't know if anyone saw the episode of Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith and her mom and her daughter. But they had a young lady on there. She was on there, and she was black. And it was astounding to me to hear this young lady was. When I say young lady, I don't mean she was like a teenager. I mean, she was grown. She was in her 20s, who grew up in a white family, and she didn't know she was black until later in life. And she grew up being afraid of black people. She grew up, being afraid of her own people. Now, I think that's sad. And when Red Table interviewed the parents, the white parents of this young lady, they were nice people, seemed to be nice people, but they said that it never occurred to them that they should teach their daughter about black people or expose her to black people. And the fact that this woman grew up all this time thinking she wasn't black. So in today's climate, you have people talking about Black Lives Matter. You have people, black people dealing with the police. There are so many things that are going on a culture level with black people that you have to raise them where they can understand who they are and where they came from. And I'm going to say welcome to Shy Lady and Nana.
Hey.
Hey, but you have to, you really just have to be aware of another person's culture. Now, on the flip side, let's talk about black people raising white children. Okay, you don't see it as much, but you do see it. And
I'm sorry. When you get through, I have an input on that. I had a relative to do that. Go ahead and you're finished.
Okay. All right. And as a parent, you do have a responsibility to raise that white child where they understand where they come from too. So it goes both ways. But I guess with white people and white parents, I think there's more of a responsibility because of the burden that African American children go through. I think there's more of a burden. And Shy Lady, I am going to mute you for a moment because I have your background noises coming through. So, okay, so 100 Yard Old Chemist says, but exactly what is white culture? Okay, so you bring up an interesting point because, again, on one of my previous shows, before I came over to Podbean, we were talking about that. Do white people even have a culture? Because it seems like that they're always taking from other cultures, be it from Native Americans, be it from Asians, African Americans. It seems like that they're always taking. But in terms of what is white culture, when you're raising, if you're a black person or someone of another color raising a white child, you do have to let them know that, yes, we do look different from you, but you're not, you're not black. You're white. You either, you come from Europe or you come from Ireland. I don't know, but you have to at least, let them understand that no, they are not black. So on that note, I know Shy Lady is like digging at the heels, and I'm going to let her say something. And then I am going to turn it over to 100 Yard Old Chemist. So Shy Lady, you go first.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. This is very brief because I don't know a lot of the background about this particular situation. My husband has an uncle. I want to say he's early 70s, maybe 74, 75. And about 20 years ago, he adopted a little white boy. And unfortunately, my husband's sister passed away a couple of weeks ago. And he, when you don't see relatives for a long time because of death, then things resurface. So this particular uncle, he lives out of state, and we don't talk to him much, but because of the death in the family, we were like, how's it going? How's this young man doing now? He's now a young man, early 20s. How's he doing? What's going on with him? And he said, oh, that situation is just awful right now. And we were like, well, what happened? Oh, he went back to his mom. He's been in and out of jail. And I believe he adopted the child because he did come from like a background of substance abuse on the parts of his parents. And I don't really know how this child was raised because I don't live in the same state. And, like I said, we weren't close, but it was just unfortunate to hear that this child or this young man now is in and out of jail. And I think also into substance abuse as well. So like I said, I don't really know the background about what happened with this kid, what went wrong for him to duplicate the life of his parents. So I just want to say that that's the only person that I know of in my life that actually adopted a black person with a black wife, adopted a white child. And now he has kids of his own, biological. And I'm not really sure why he adopted. I never asked what was the reason, considering there's so many black children that yearn to be adopted. But, that was his choice. But like I said, I don't really know what happened. But I was surprised to find out that this particular kid was in a bad way. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm going to ask you here because I guess I'm going to ask you, why are you surprised that he was in a bad way? Because he was white?
Because supposedly I thought because the uncle is a man of faith. He has his own church, and I assumed he was ministering and pouring into this child to lead a successful life, because his own biological children have never been in a situation like that. They're doing well. They're all successful. I think he has 4 children total, and they're all successful.
Okay, so I'm just going to disagree with you a little bit there, because you can have people in the same family who are extremely successful, and you have that one that, for whatever reason, that go off the rails. And just because you're raised, from in a church going family, your father's a minister or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that that the kids are going to turn out to be whatever.
You're so right.
Okay, so I'm going to now turn it over to 100 Yard Old Chemist. Did you want to make any comments? Let me see if I have my call in on. Here we go. Okay. 100 Yard Old Chemist is not responding, so I'm going to keep going. All right. So you know, when you talk about adoption, you know, my husband and I, you know, were approached with being a foster family, and you know, it's something that you know I seriously thought of. My husband, I think it just was you know went in you know briefly whatever, but I seriously you know thought about it, but at the time, my life was just really really busy, and I knew that I would not have the time and commitment that would be needed to be a foster parent. But when you choose to take someone else's child into your home, it's a responsibility. So again, I bring up the fact that when white people adopt, um, sometimes, and I'm just going to be honest, sometimes I see it as suspect. Why are they adopting this black child? Out of all the children that are in need of adoption, you have a lot of white children out there who, you know, need homes. Yes, you have, black children that need homes, but why are you adopting this black child over this white child? You know, if you have two children that were three years old, you had a white 3-year-old child and a black three-year-old child. Why is that white family choosing to adopt that black child? I mean, I don't know. You know, is it to make a point? When I look at celebrities who adopt, and I'm talking about white celebrities, and I always wonder, and it does go through my mind. One of the first things that go through my mind, and it's probably unfair, is the thought of, did you adopt this child because it was popular? It was a popular thing to do. Now look, I have this black child too. Or are you adopting them because you really have the interest and you really want to, adopt this child? Now I look at Angelina Jolie. You look at her. I think that she truly, wants to give these children a home. But then again, I look at someone, I said it before, look at someone like Madonna. I think it was just the flavor of the day that day. I could be totally wrong. I could be absolutely 100% wrong, but I question it. Now, let's look at black people raising white children. As Charlene said, about her uncle. Um, you know, did you do it? Did you adopt this child of a different race because you knew their parents? Um, was it a favor, or a promise that you made to a parent or a friend? Or did you adopt this child because you truly wanted to help this child? But again, with black children, you know, it's just different. It just seems like everything with black period is always different in society. That we have to look at things differently because society always looks at us differently. So when you're raising a black child, or if you're adopting a black child, just as parents, we have a responsibility to that child because there's so many things that we need to teach them, so many things that they need to be aware of, and so many things that they need to know because they are Black. Now, anyone can disagree with me, but I think I'm right. Yesterday I was watching, yes, I do watch The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and the one, Black housewife on the show, if anyone is familiar with Garcelle Beauvais, they were talking about, being Black. And all the other housewives were saying, oh, I don't see color. And Kathy Hilton said that she grew up with Michael Jackson, and that, Michael said to her that he doesn't see color. Now, I believe that's probably a statement that Michael Jackson said. I think that he probably said that. But to say that you don't see color, and this is what Garcelle Beauvais was saying, she says to say that you don't see color is saying that you don't see me. Because at the end of the day, I'm a Black woman. And she's absolutely right. So if you're raising a Black child and you're trying to do the kumbaya moment and say, oh, God loves everyone, we're all the same, whatever. In theory, yes. In theory, we are all the same. And yes, God does love everyone. That is a fact. But you're still Black. You're not going to be treated like your white brothers and sisters. You're not going to be treated like your coworkers when you go to work. You may not be treated the same when you walk into a store. And God forbid, if you're stopped by the police, more than likely you are not going to be treated the same way as you would if you were white. That's a fact. That's a fact. So when white people make the decision to adopt Black, again, my opinion, you have to really get beyond the, oh, they're cute or, whatever. You have this responsibility, depending upon how old this child is, for a good 18 years. And they have to be aware of everything. And when your child comes home one day, because they will, and we're told, and yes, I am going to say the word, that they were called a nigger in school or whatever, and they come home crying. As a white parent, you can't brush it off and say, oh, don't listen to them. They're just, silly or, whatever. You have to have this conversation with them about that word and what it means. And I don't think white people really understand what that word means and the impact. Well, put it like this. I think they understand what it means. I don't think that they understand the emotional impact that it has. And I don't think that they're properly equipped to explain that to a Black child because they're not Black. I'm going to stop it there, and I'm going to ask, does anyone have anything that they want to say from what I just said?
I want to say I'm in agreement with a lot of what you said. That's pretty much it. I agree with a lot of it. It's important. You do question when you're in the stores and you're out in public somewhere and you see a Black child with white parents. The thought does cross my mind as to what's the reason. I'm even the thought of, I wonder how they're being treated. That goes through my mind because there's always doubt. to me. There's always a question. But God bless the ones who are really out there who actually care and treating them as they would their own flesh and blood, in a nice way. You know.
Well, let me ask this. I cannot think of this. Josephine Baker. Um, do people remember who Josephine Baker was? She's famous for doing her banana dance back over in Europe during the early 30s. Okay, so you had Josephine Baker who adopted. I think she adopted like 15 children, and she called them, her rainbow tribe. And she adopted children from different races and what have you, because she really believed that these children needed homes. And whenever I think about or see Angelina Jolie, I think about Josephine Baker. Now, but at the same time, like Shy Lady just said, when you're out and about and you see children, and this is one thing that bothers me. I am sorry, it just bothers me so much. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone out and I see a black child with a white parent, and I do think that they are adopted, and their hair, this may sound funny to some people, but their hair is like never combed. And like, not just you woke up one day and they just didn't comb their hair, so they go out, whatever. I'm talking about, can we get a comb through their hair? Not having their hair combed. That's what I mean. And that bothers me. Part of adopting children or having children, period, is combing their hair. And going back to Angelina Jolie, I remember when Brad Pitt gave an interview where I guess he's friends with Jada Pinkett, where he asked her, he said, with our daughter, we don't know how to comb her hair. What do you do? And Jada Pinkett had to inform him, this is how you do her hair, whatever. But the fact that he reached out and asked. Now, not saying that these other people don't, but I'm sorry, your child is supposed to be an extension of yourself. And you don't allow your child to walk out of the house with uncombed hair. And again, I may be being petty and silly, but that's another component of adopting a black child. Not just what are you going to tell them if they come home crying one day because someone called them a name, but their appearance. There's just I don't know. We have just we have just gotten to a point in society where we're willing to accept a lot of things, and I'm not. We have a lot of black children. Let's see. So do you say one shouldn't have interracial kids or parents? No, I'm not saying that. If you are a white person and you're married to a black person, or vice versa, or you're married to an Asian, or Hispanic is married to an Asian, interracial, I have no problems with that. But I do believe that interracial children face their own problems when they go out into the world. And I do believe that it is the responsibility of those parents to explain to their child that they are part this and they are part that. And they have a right to know what each heritage is. So I'm not saying, I am not, against, okay, you're saying, I mean, adoption. Again, I'm not against it. I just question it, and I just want to know, that you're going to be able to teach that child where they come from and who they are. And when I say where they come from, I don't mean, that their parents were this or their parents were that. I'm talking about their culture, who they are as a people. That's what I mean. So cool, dude. I'm going to ask you, did you want to, say anything else? I'll be more than happy if you want to call in. Do you want to say anything else? Or if not, I can keep going. But my the last show that I did with this on this topic, I had someone who really, she really blasted me. And she said that I said that white people. Yes, cool, dude. I wanted to know, did you want to call in and actually voice your opinion or your thoughts? If you wanted to do so, you are more than happy to. So you do have that invitation. But this previous person said that. Hold on, and cool dude wants to talk. Okay, cool dude. You have the mic if you would like to say something.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good.
Great. Hey, very interesting topic you have chosen. Having white parents having black kids or vice versa. My point is, I don't know. I may sound pretty weird, but then the what it's just the skin which gives us the difference. Otherwise, below the skin, everyone is the same. The other day I saw one very interesting picture about I think 5 or 6 the the skeletons the skeletons against the wall, and on top of each skeleton it was written black, white, Hispanic, yellow, green, blue, whatever. So it's just the way how we look at things, we human beings. I mean, tell me something. If a white child was born was after the birth has been dumped, or a black child has been dumped, what is their fault of being born, and the parents dumping it? Get my point?
No, I do get your point. And if you do have a white child, and I don't really want to use the term dumped, but if they were unwanted, and let's say a black family chose to adopt them, then I say the same thing. You still, there's no, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that having the responsibility of teaching that child where they come from, their culture, who they are. That's my main point. You can adopt them, fine. But I think as a parent, you have the responsibility of telling that child who they come, where they come from, what their culture is.
Yeah. I totally agree with you on this, because a child, I think from 4 or 5 years old, they have the sense of thinking, as well as rationalizing to a certain extent. Obviously, they would see, well, I am dark or fair, whereas my parents are uh, just the opposite. So obviously they will start thinking the curiosity would kind of kick in, and the parents would have to deal with that. I totally agree with you on that.
Right, and that is my point. If you have a child in your family and you go to Disneyland or you go shopping somewhere and you see that one child that's kind of like sticking out from everyone else, like they look a little different here. That child,
Right.
they pick up on that and they see that and they may come back and they want to know, Mom, Dad, why do I look different from little Johnny? Why is my skin different? Why is my hair
Yeah,
different?
I totally agree with you.
The parent has to be prepared to answer those questions. And all I'm saying is,
True. True that.
as a Black child, or a person of color, a white parent, in my opinion, is not necessarily, equipped to answer that question because they're not Black or they're not someone of a different color other than white.
Right.
So I'm not saying that they would be bad parents, They just need to be.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's kind of. I mean, I would look at it from this from another point of view. Is that these parents, this couple of parents, let me put it that way. These parents, they really have to come take a major decision in life if they have to adopt a child with a different skin tone.
Yeah.
Get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, you're go on.
Go ahead. I'm saying, yeah.
Go on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
No, you go on.
All right. So I'm just saying that there is a particular mindset that parents have to have when you are raising a child of another race.
Right. Okay. Now, I assume that most of you guys are from the States.
I am from the States. Yes.
Okay.
I have people who have joined that are from different places in the United States.
Right. Okay. I have I stay in Australia, but my roots are here in India. Okay. Now, in India, what happens is, if we have a Muslim name, immediately that child would be looked down upon in the schools, be it a private school, a posh school, even there. The other children, they kind of stay away from someone who has a Muslim name. Now, this kind of discrimination, I am totally against it. I mean, it does not serve any cause. It does not solve any problems. Yet imagine the stigma that the child has to just carry for the rest of his life, his or her life. It's very sad. Where in the US, even in Australia, people do have that. They kind of look at you with a different eye. oh, this guy is this person is dark complexioned. We are whites. I mean, who the fuck cares about the color of the skin?
Okay,
I'm sorry
and
for the language, but
no. I mean, no. I understand. I understand what you're saying, and that's why I said that people of color, growing up, we have more challenges than white people do. And when you choose to adopt, um, those are things that I feel that you need to address. So
absolutely.
those are things that cannot get away from. Now I am going to ask, does anyone else have anything that they would like to say, any other input just from this conversation that Kuldu and I just had? Does anyone agree or disagree or want to add to that, or say that we're both totally wrong? Does anyone have anything that they would like to add? Okay, I am going to keep going. All right, so cool, dude. I'm going to mute you for a moment, and I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so so cool, dude. Brought up some good points. And I don't know, here in the United States, I guess going back to what we were talking about yesterday, just in terms of hypocrisy. Um, I believe that America is a very hypocritical country. Um, and we cannot preach um, that everyone's the same, that, you know, no one is different from the other person. And like I just said, in theory, that is true. But when you choose to adopt a child that is other than white, mainly black, there is just that added responsibility. And it could I may even say pressure to make sure that you're raising that child knowing who they are. Because I would really be interested to know what you look at what happened last summer. And you had all the protests from last summer, from George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, these people who were either murdered by the police or, had incidences, with police officers, or even just the protesters that were out there and the things that they encountered. Okay, let me stop here for a moment. Okay. I'm going to pronounce your name because it seems like you're saying Lily G. What if you have a child with a black man? Jill, I'm sorry. Okay, Jill. All right. So, Jill, if you have a child with a black man, again, I have no problems with interracial, dating, marriages, whatever. But as I said before you came on, you have a responsibility to that child where they know that part of their culture is black, part of their culture is white, and for them to learn about both sides. So, Jill, I'm going to ask you, what would you tell a child? What would you tell a black child if they ask you why were they protesting? Thank you, cool dude. I appreciate the light. What would you, Jill? What would you tell a child about the protests, or if you were to adopt a black child, a child of a different race, what would you tell them about what's going on in society? And I say that because I really would like to get a white point of view. I would really like to know what your thoughts are, and how you would deal with it, if you're willing to come on and talk. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So, there's just, I don't know, just being black in itself, or a non-white person in itself, is exhausting, and it's hard. I've mentioned before on previous shows that I have a 21-year-old son. I'm at work right now, but I can get back to you as far as coming on the panel. Okay, okay, that's fine. Totally understand. But I have a son. I've said it before. He's 21 years old. He hasn't driven in over 2 years because he's scared to drive. Again, not that he's scared to drive in terms of he's scared, that he's going to get into an accident. He's scared to drive because he doesn't want to get stopped by the police. And I'm scared for him. And I know the entire time that he was not at home, that's what I would be thinking about. And I do believe that parents, black parents, have that certain amount of fear and worry when their child leaves the house, and they don't breathe that sigh of relief until they know that child has walked through that door and they are home. Not pulled up into the driveway, because things can still happen in your driveway, but when they're actually in the house. And these are things that have to be addressed when you are raising black children, when you're raising Latino children, when you're raising a child other than white. So, I mean, does anyone disagree with me? Do you think that I'm just being an overly protective parent that worries too much? Or do you think that I'm correct?
If I may, as a black woman with black sons, I do have that fear when they go out and they come home, particularly if it's at night, because my sons are 17 and 23, and they're driving, and the fear does overtake me sometimes, and I just have to pray when they return. So, yeah, it does come to my mind. I know some white parents don't have that feeling, and maybe even some Asian parents don't have that, because you don't hear about cops stopping Asians and Asians being shot down. But because you were saying people of color,
Mm-hmm.
Some Latinos who probably are of darker hue, or look like Afro-Latinas, maybe they have issues, but usually the closer you are to looking white, you're not usually stopped by a police officer, from what I've read, from the things I've heard about. But like I said, as a black person with black sons, it always, like I said, particularly when it's nighttime, because all kinds of things happen at night. My sons, they may want to go out to a party or something, and they're going to come home after 10 o'clock. It bothers me. And like I said, I just have to pray when I hear the key come into the lock, that they're safe.
Okay, but listen to what you just said, that you become overly anxious and worried. And, the fact that my son, he will not drive. I mean, we've said, go take the car. He will not drive. And what you just said about being overly anxious, what I'm saying about being overly anxious and the fact that my son will not drive, that's not normal. That's not normal behavior. And I don't believe that white parents, and this can be another show, that they go through that.
I don't. I have to agree with you. I don't think they go through that. If anything, they might. And I'm not speaking of white people. I'm not white, but I know my children have been reared in schools where the majority of the students were white. My kids have had white friends, and I know that probably and like I said, I'm not speaking for white people, but their fear may be their kids involved in an accident with someone who's under the influence, or that kid themselves may be under the influence. But other than being stopped from the police strictly because of their color, I don't think that they can identify with that.
And I think that I think you have made a good point. Now, Cool Dude is saying that the fair people have a sense of supremacy. That again, is another show, because then you're talking about privilege. Um, I have a caller who just left, and they just texted me saying that they didn't want to say anything because they would have gone way out there. And she made the comment, I'm just reading what the text that she sent me. People didn't become white until after they went through Ellis Island. I don't know. When you look at raising a Black child, and again, this is just my opinion, you just have to look at it differently. When I was pregnant with my son, I wanted a girl, because one reason I wanted a girl was because I thought raising a, African American female would be easier than raising a, African American boy. Not because of behavior problems or anything like that. I've never, my son, he's an only child, never has given me any problem, in that regard. But just the fact of what a Black male child has to face. I don't know. You can walk into a room and you can be the smartest person in the room. You could be the nicest person in the room. You could be the best dressed person in the room. But if you're Black, the first thing they're going to see is that you're Black. And those are things that I talked to my son about. I mean, he's, on Saturday, he's returning to school, going back to live in the dorms after, being home for a year. And, I'm giving him the talk once more. People that I don't want him to hang around. He's 21. He can do, what he wants. But he understands where I'm coming from. Seriously, telling him that if you don't have to, go out, if you're with a group of friends and they, want to go out, if you don't have to go or whatever, can you please just stay on campus? Don't go out. And it is pathetic. It is pathetic. If I've even gone so far as saying, and I know I'm going to get shot down with this one, I've even gone so far as saying that if you're going out, because the school that he goes to is mostly white, this college is a very small college, but I even went as far as saying that if you have a group of friends and they want to hang out, and if they're all white and you are the only Black person in that car or in that group, please do me a favor and stay home. Please don't go. Which is something I should not say. But usually when you're the only one and if there's trouble, guess who they're going to look at first? They're going to look at you.
I agree.
You know, hi, crazy, only crazy lady. You always tend to come in at the tail end. I usually start at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, but if you want to jump in and say something, you know, damn it. You know, but that's you know, that's what I think. You know, and that's what I'm telling him. And as a parent, I should not have to tell my son this. I mean, I've even go so far as have told him, if you want to date, please don't date white girls. Please don't date white girls. Even though, like Shy Lady, my son grew up mainly around white people. He went to school mainly around white people until we started to homeschool. You know, but we live in an area that is mostly white. You know, so you know, I shouldn't have to tell my son who I prefer him not to date, not because I don't think that these girls are nice or anything. It's just that more than likely, you know, you just may get in trouble. And I don't know. You know, Shy Lady, you said I tell my sons not to be the only black person in the alley with all whites. I mean, you know, yes. You know, and there's reasons that we're saying this. There's reasons that we're telling our black children, even your black daughters, you know, don't be the only one. You know, don't be the only one. Because yes, Kudu, it is safer for him if he's not the only one.
You know, can I say this? I know the show is about to end real soon, but just last week I read online an article about a black woman who is she moved from London. I think she's African. She's of African descent. She moved from London to Wales because of a lot of the racism that she was experiencing. She's a single mom. Some people may have heard of this story, but I read about it like maybe a week ago. And she moved from London to Wales because of all the racism she had been experiencing in London. I believe she has four children or five. She has several children. And right now she is dealing with the Wales government because she's trying to find answers about what happened to her son, what happened to cause her son's death. Her son was 14 years old. I think he has an African name, and I believe his last name is Kappa, Kappa. If you might want to look that up, if you want to Google it, you can read the article. But this particular kid could not swim, and he was with a group of white kids. I understand there were about maybe 7 or 8 white kids. He was the only black person in this whole group. There were no Latinos or Asian kids. From what I read the article, they were all white. And this boy wound up getting in the water and drowning. One of the white kids told the mother that he was pushed because she said, my son would never get into water. My son is terrified of water because he can't swim. And the police in Wales have dismissed this as an accident, and they won't press charges. They pointed out one of the kids in the group, I think it was several, had pointed out this particular kid that pushed him into the water, but the police will not press charges. And so the mom is fighting for justice for her son. And that's the very reason why I tell my kids, do not be the only one, because of situations like that.
Well, not only situations like that, but I go back to the point of if that group of kids, if they get into trouble, because you're the only one, usually you're going to be the one who is going to be the person that's going to be picked out and the police will probably pick on is going to be the black child. Now, Juju has said Alina Joseph's son, Christopher Capsia, died in 2019. She is still searching for justice. A black boy was pushed to his death. His mom says it was more than a prank.
That's
okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Juju. Thank you, my silent friend. But she always comes up. She'll always do the research in the background. So thank you. So everyone, that's my show today. Maybe people have, different views on raising black children, but I do believe that, as a white parent, making the choice to adopt a black child, and I am mainly, yes, other children of color, but mainly black children. There are things that we have to deal with, as a race, things that we deal with every single day, on a professional level and on a personal level, and even when our children go to school. My son, before he was homeschooled, he was called a nigger in third grade. And I knew it was coming. I knew he was going to be called that name, but I didn't think he would be called that name so soon. And this is at a quote unquote Christian school, but he was, and I had to address it. He knew it was what the word meant. He was in tears, and you're hurting for your child. So these are things that, having a black child, these are things you have to address. These are things that you have to look at, because they are going to happen. So on that note, I am going to end it, and I want to say thank you to everyone. I am Solid Blue Sister. Always speak your truth, and this is my turn to talk. Juju, thank you. And today is Thursday. I am only on Monday through Thursday. I will see everyone on Monday. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Bush, you came in at the very end, but hello and thank you for joining.